Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, tough talk tonight on what your money is actually worth. The more discretionary cash that you have, odds are, the more likely you're going to be content with your income. So really, the salary you make, it's just a number. The real question is, how are you living? Discretionary cash is the focus of tonight's Money Talks. When it comes to discretionary income, how much do we have? And for that answer, we turn to Investopedia. Pre-COVID, in 2019, the average American family had $20,748 per year to spend any way that they like. In other words, the average household has about $1,729 left over after paying the bills each month.
Thanks to generous government spending programs, many Americans are coming out of the COVID lockdowns with more money. In fact, the savings rate in the U.S. tripled during the first 2 quarters of 2020, which is highly unusual for a recession. Usually people, if they lose their jobs, are short on cash.
Remember, in March of 2020, we went into a bear market, but with all of the stimulus and money that the government spent and gave to people, even those whose employment wasn't affected, well, that got us zooming by June. That was a very short recession.
On the one hand, the COVID-related spending has been a huge benefit for anyone that lost a job during the pandemic, and it's also helped control the negative impacts and keep it from spreading to other areas of the economy.
It would seem that we have dodged a bullet, but our country took on a great deal more debt to do so. Rising costs in goods and services are now being felt by consumers.
On the other hand, the spending that's been done has added to the debt. It could lead to inflation as people start opening their wallets and buying more things now that the lockdowns are over. And a lot of debt could end up reducing the long-term growth rate of the U.S. economy, which could be a bad thing for all of us.
The Federal Reserve is now saying that inflation might be here through 2022, the long-term effects of which remain to be seen.
There was actually a slowdown in inflation during 2020, and so that helped the purchasing power of all workers, and so they were able to buy more with the wages they did earn. Hopefully, this current inflation is going to be short-lived so that some of those gains aren't lost.
And we will see. Again, if costs go up due to inflation, but your salary doesn't keep pace, well, then your discretionary income will go down. And when it comes to the economy, that gets people to answer that the country is not on the right track, which is how 71% answered in a recent CNBC poll. So we'll keep watching it for you. Leslie?